Hello guys, welcome back to the opening tier list for white from the beginner perspective. Yesterday you were with me, we covered our e4 move on the first move with all the replies from the opponent. Today we will focus about everything outside of e4, so 1d4, 1c4, knight f3 and so on, all the good and bad choices. So you don't need any further introduction, you were with me yesterday. Let's just then go straight into the action and let's start with the Queen's Gambit. I believe that you know it all, same as the Italian game after 1 e4. This is the instant classic, right? So c4 right now. I don't think it requires a lot of explanation because I believe you watched the next Netflix series, I believe you must have looked at the theory. So all I will say is that for sure it's a great choice with one slight thing to it. Please guys, remember that we don't want to bluff 100% with playing this move and allowing the opponent to take this pawn. So one thing I would like to mention is that if you are going to play Queen's Gambit, please don't bluff all the time, all the way. Be prepared for taking the pawn, either now or later, because as of now, even if you have not checked the openings, the lines as I now suggest you to do, you can just play simply e3 and then perhaps be able to grab the pawn. Okay, you might fight for it, black might fight for it, it will be imbalanced, so it's useful to know the lines rather than not know them, right? And that's first thing. And also you should know about it later on if if black chooses to go with some Slav defense family stuff, and then he will grab you now or later and so on. So Queen's Gambit, legendary stuff, but I will just have this one thing to you guys. Please check what happens if the opponent accepts your gambit. So in the previous video I told you guys that the gambits will be covered in the separate video. That's true. However, Queen's Gambit is such a popular opening, a basic one, a solid one, a legendary one, and also you will not perhaps gambit this pawn forever. I wanted to include this in the opening section. I think you will understand, so we may then continue. Going back to the tier list, then I will put Queen's Gambit as the legendary one, however not at the top, not at the top, maybe here, not at the bottom legendary, but for sure not at the top. All right, I hope you will agree with me. And now we go into the London system that all of you know for sure, which obviously includes the move bishop f4 against basically any reply of the opponent. So if it's d5, bishop e4 it is. If it's knight f6, bishop f4 it is. If it's Dutch defense with f5, if it's like whatever, anything else, bishop f4, bishop f4, bishop f4. So one thing that's great about it is that playing London system allows you to have basically every time the same setup, solid setup, but with not that much high upside. So I gotta say that I am not a big fan of a London system for the ambitious players that want to progress. But if you are a beginner and you don't want to be the master of whatever, anything, the state, the city, the family, you just want to have some games that will be easy for you to navigate and you will have at least some fun, the London system might be for you. And because it's so solid, and recently, due to some memes I guess, so popular, I guess I will have to put it into legendary section, because as I've said, you will just learn the setup, not the variation, and it allows you to go through the beginner to intermediate to advanced level, and this is the criteria I believe for the opening to be legendary. So for example, from Brack's perspective, I covered for you guys that is the Caro-Kann, because with Caro-Kann you can rise from the beginner to advanced section and you can play it all the time. I believe same thing applies to London, but in order for your chess to not be so boring, I would still recommend something else outside of the London, okay? So I will put London in the top legendary tier, even above the Queen's Gambit, but I cannot make myself to put it higher than Scotch and maybe Italian, so let's just agree on this place, okay guys? and we may now switch into some different systems, including one d4 move, which is the Cole system. I'm not even sure if any of you know the Cole system. Basically, Cole system is for like hipsters that are hating on the London, want to play something different than London, but they don't know what to do, so all they say is basically, okay, I will play the London but without bishop on f4. So Cole system will be a move like e3, maybe knight e3, knight f6, and then, oh sorry, and then like e3, maybe. The idea is that you are still wanting to play like this, but without the bishop on f4. So guys, if you want to hate on the London system and if you want to play something different, don't go for the Cole system, okay? You are not that different than all the other guys, and you for sure don't have a better position. So Cole system does not deserve any more of my cover. Let's just put it straight into the avoid. Maybe it's not as bad as the exchanged. Maybe let's put it there. So we will have face, position, flag, position, face, position, flag. Seems nice for my eyes, so let's put it there. And with that, we go into Trompowsky attack. Trompowsky attack is the move that usually is seen after knight f6 continuation from the opponent and now bishop to g5. It might work at the lower levels, but sometimes, and also at the lower levels, it's not a guarantee that you will get knight f6 on the move number 1. So if you play d4, d5, it's very hard to talk more about bishop g5 move rather than, okay, what's that about? You are not pinning the knight, attacking the knight, like why did you go there? So in this move order, I'm not sure if it's working that well. In this move order, it might be an interesting option, especially if opponent plays a move like this and then you try to punish him somehow. But overall, you are basically hoping to make some trick to the opponent, while overall it's not that easy to navigate simply after a move like knight e4. It takes basically one move for the opponent to make your position not that playable. So I would say that even though Trompowsky attack might give you some points at some point and has a kind of, I'm not saying nice name, but memorable name, let's put it into memes, okay? So I will put it into memes. The Ponziani opening felt very, very sad there, so Trompowsky attack will be in the tricks only / memes section. It fits for both. Alright, and now we get into the Torre attack. Torre attack is actually a little bit, I would say, flexible than Trompowsky attack, but it still includes bishop g5 move. So Cole attack might be played against d5 and against knight f6. The whole idea is that we play first knight f3, then for example getting d5, or in the other move order d4, d5, knight f3 now, knight f6, so we can get there with both replies from the opponent, and only now bishop g5. So it's kind of like a Trompowsky, but maybe a little bit more solid, and also you can get to this position like disregarding the reply from the opponent on the move number 1, because the move order can change. Therefore, I would say that practically it's a little bit better option than Trompowsky, but also it does not offer you such a high upside. So maybe it's not an avoid. For sure it's not tricks only, because there are not so many tricks, so I will put it as the optional one, but at the very low part of the tier. You know, I believe that we will cover few more options, and we've already covered few options that are better than this with the first move d4. Okay, going further, we have the Catalan opening. I believe you also heard that name many times. You may have even heard that it's a perfect option, but I would say that I agree, but for better players, really, guys. Catalan opening might be once again achieved by many different move orders, after many different setup from the opponent. Basically, the whole idea of ours is to put our pawns in the center and then go for the fianchetto. And if it will be in this variation, if it will be like that, and then c4 later on, it's all the Catalan family. I know it may be called Neo-Catalan, some Catalan, I don't care, I don't know. The whole idea is to play g3, so once again, we don't really talk about the specific variation, but rather setup. So guys, at the top level, it's quite playable due to the fact that this bishop and the overall control center offers you stability. Stability that you will not experience in many other openings overall in chess. However, when we are beginners, we want something more than stability only. Like we even would rather play something not that stable, but at least offering some upside. In this position, the biggest problem is that black can be playing simply very solid, then at some point accept our pawn to c4 move and grabbing the pawn, and we really have to work to get this pawn back. And it's not that easy to do at the lower level. So I would say that even though it might be a great option if you will progress instantly, or rather not instantly, but I wanted to say continuously, at the beginning I would say that there are quite better systems to play, and also Catalan will go nowhere. If you will be ready for it, you can start learning it and the results will be there. So Catalan, great opening, but perhaps not for beginners. But if you really want to try this out, okay, let's do it. Therefore, I will put it into the optional section. And because it's a little bit harder to navigate than Sicilians, I will put it here. Hopefully that's fair. Okay, with that we are getting into yet another variation of closed systems, which is the English opening. English opening starts with c4, and once again it offers you plenty of possibilities of transition to the variations that we know after d4. So all the, maybe not London systems, but the Queen's Gambit, the Catalan, that sort of thing. Also you have to include c4 e5 variation covering the d4 square, c4 c5 variation covering the d4 square, so it will lead in the end into some different setups than you would get after one move, first move d4. So you will have to put quite much effort into learning all this stuff, while oftentimes, as I've said, it may just be the change in the move order, because usually if you play c4, then you want to play knight c3, getting even more control over the light squares, and then going for g3, bishop g2. So we can feel the Catalan vibes a little bit. So if I've put Catalan as the optional, and I would say that in the English opening you have to put even more effort into it to understand it and to learn the structures and so on, I cannot rate it higher than the Catalan, unfortunately. So if you want to be flexible, if you want to change the move order, we will get in a second to the opening that suits you more. As of now, English opening will be below Catalan and even not like next to it. So let's just put it maybe at the bottom. Yeah, I think it will be fair, guys. Sorry, but that's that. Many optionals, right? Not so many tricks only. But it is what it is. I don't choose the openings, openings are there. I just need to evaluate them. So, going back to the next opening, it will be the Reti. So, Reti will be knight f3 on the move number 1. And the idea behind knight f3 is that we want to be flexible, similarly to the English opening. However, we did not play any pawn move yet. So opponent does not know, will we go for the Catalan type of thing, English type of thing, Queen's Gambit type of thing, maybe London system, maybe any other system that we really covered so far, because you can enter the Kole, the Torre, the Trompowski, maybe not, but all the others, sure. So the idea is that after knight f3, your opponents might be confused. And the biggest difference between knight f3 and c4 is that also you cover the e5 square, which will not allow your opponent to play e5, taking over the center. So if the opponent plays d5 now, as I've said, you may now play d4 entering all the d4 stuff, even Queen's Gambit. If you want to play it in the Catalan version, you can play g3 or d3, d4, g3, right? And so on, so on, so on. So plenty of possibilities, and with the biggest point being that you don't resign, don't just give away the center. And that's the big thing, guys, in the beginner openings, to not give up the center. Okay, so knight f3 I quite like, to be honest, and for that reason I will put it higher than the Catalan and English, so straight into the legit section. And since it's so flexible, we may try to put it next to the Vienna game, which should also be flexible, maybe up there. That's my suggestion. Okay, going further, we now have to cover one g3 move. I'm not sure if there is a name to it really, that's why I opted to just name it as 1g3. I don't know, guys. If there is a name, you can type it in the comments. But anyway, what's the g3 about? Basically about the same stuff that we have just discussed. So all the Catalans, all this stuff is there. However, you may argue that, okay, it's basically the same, right? We will get the similar position. Why would you put it lower than all the other openings? The answer is simple. With that move, we are giving up on the center. So opponent might be as well playing e5, d5, and it will not be as easy for you to fight for the center. Knight f3 might be risky. c4, okay, you may try this, but after d4, position is closed, you have this bishop, but it's getting more and more complex just because you want it to be different. You don't have to be that different, guys. It's enough for you to be different with the move like knight f3, which is ready opening. g3 would be one step too far for me, and for that reason, because there are plenty of similar possibilities, I will put g3 as the avoid. And let's put it maybe there. You are giving up on the center similarly to the Tarrasch French, let's say, so yeah, let's go with that. Now we are entering the King's Indian attack, which will be, let's say, the summary of all the options that we've discussed, because we can get the King's Indian attack after one g3, one knight f3. I'm not sure about the English opening though, so maybe I'm a little bit wrong, but the whole idea is that I believe that you know the King's Indian defense, right? If you don't know, check out my latest video on the tier list, part 2 of the beginner playlist for black, because in that section I've covered King's Indian defense as such setup. So we want to have pawns on d6, g6, flanketed bishop hitting the long diagonal, castle, and so on. So if that's King's Indian defense, you may imagine for sure that King's Indian attack will look similarly, but just from white's perspective. And I believe that the simplest version of getting there is to start once again with knight f3 move, at least fighting for the center a little bit, and then just not caring about what the opponent do, whether he will go with d5 then c5 knight c6 e6, such setup, or whether he will go with d6 g6 bishop g7, such setup, or any other. You might try to play very similarly, which is g3, bishop g2, castle, d3, getting this King's Indian stuff but with white pieces, and then trying to fight for the center. Either move c4, maybe move e4, and so on, so on. So this setup, similarly to the many other solid ones like London system, like closed Sicilian, and perhaps few others, it allows you to play basically similar moves every game. Game in, game out. Day in, day out. But still you are kind of giving up on the center. So if you really want to have a position with bishop on g2, with castle, and then with possibilities of hitting the center, I would rather have you play the closed Sicilian, if you remember it. So start with the move e4. From the move e4 you can also kind of get to the King's Indian attack. Let's say if the c5 is played, now you can even play d3, trying to get such position. But if you will like stretch it to the closed Sicilian, meaning that you will put even f4 pawn in between, it will be for the best. So for that reason, even though King's Indian attack may wake up great feelings in your heart, because I believe many of you will love the King's Indian defense, I would say that I have to put it lower than the closed Sicilian and perhaps lower than many other options for the closed openings from white's perspective. So where to put it? Actually, guys, it may be controversial, but I will put it into the avoid section. for sure higher than g3. Knight f3 is passive. Okay, let's put it there, guys. Once again, it may be controversial, but I believe there are so many good options that it should be just avoided. I hope you will agree. Okay, going further, we have plenty of options to cover that are further and further from being optimal, and we'll start with the Larsen opening. Larsen opening, you might know it also as the Nimzo Larsen attack, but back in my days it was referred to as simply the Larsen opening. So Larsen opening start with b3, and if you observe, let's say Hikaru, top streamer, top player, he will play it a lot in the blitz, in the bullet section, and so on. I myself play it a lot, especially in the bullet, because it allows me to pre-move like 6 to 8 moves at the very beginning, and I'm happy with them and so on. However, I would say that if you are a beginner, please don't play bullet. Okay, that's first thing. Second thing, even if you do play bullet, I believe that there is so little chance in your bullet games. It's more like who has the fastest mouse. You don't really have to worry about opening, so why are you even watching me right now? But what I'm getting to is this. Larsen opening, because similarly to g3, it does not allow you to get the grasp of the center. It will be the avoid, purely. But just because my memes tricks only section is only there are only 2 openings there, and because I have sentiment for the Larsen opening because of my bullet experience, I will put Larsen right there in the bottom of the tricks only section, because also you might try to get to some tricks, you know, perhaps if black is trying to take over the center, maybe, just maybe, you will be able to pin him, attack the center. So let's just say that this is the reason why I put it into the higher section than the avoid. But enough of that. Now we can go into the beard opening. Beard opening starts with f4 move, which, as you may already observe, it's not that great since it's opening up your king, right? We've discussed this move when playing e4 and then perhaps some Vienna game or other stuff. So overall, it's a very, very risky move. However, if you are a big fan of putting the bishop there, it might be quite an interesting change in the move order. What I mean is that this move might be a surprise for the opponent, so there is the surprise element. And if they will just try to, I don't know, develop normally, then you might try to implement this Larsen bishop, let's say. And with that, you are playing like kind of a dragon mirrored Sicilian with white pieces. I'm not sure if you are getting to what I mean, but the thing is that you have the fianchetto, you have the pawns, you are attacking this and so on. So it has some merit to it, but even though it might look nice, you might feel like you are very original. Overall, it's not that easy to play afterwards, and black can play whatever and they will be fine at any point in any variation. So overall, it's also an avoid, but because, guys, because I put Larsen opening into the tricks only section, I believe that beard opening offers you a little bit more, since at least with f4 move we are fighting for the center, that I have to put it over Larsen opening, and because it's not optional, it has to go there. I know it's not that tricky opening, but maybe because of the name, the beard opening, let's just agree it's a meme, okay guys, and it belongs there. So at the very end of our video we will have plenty more of memes, so hopefully at the end we will get this category going, because next up the queue is the orangutan. The orangutan opening starts with the move b4. Don't be fooled, guys, it's not Polish opening at many openings book suggests. Polish defense rather. It's the defense also with the b pawn, but from the black's perspective, and it's that defense. I believe I did not even cover this in the black's opening section, and I believe for a good reason. It's just very, very bad. So when b4 is played, the b pawn is pushed from white's perspective. I don't like to call it the Polish opening, I would rather call it the orangutan. It's funnier, and I believe it's more accurate. So all in all, the idea is that we are playing some strange thing, and we may surprise the opponent, we may have a lot of fun, we may say to our friends and family that we are the best of the best because we win chess games with before move. Okay, fair play to you. If you want to have such fun, then alright. Also, objectively, it's not as bad, to be honest. So if you add this surprise element to it and this meme element to it, it might be an alright option overall. I can't believe I'm saying it, but that's really the case. So orangutan will have to go for sure in the tricks only section, but I will put it higher than b3 and f4 combined. So let's agree on this place. Now we have the grob opening. I hope it's not gross, right? Because I'm not sure if it's German or not. So also you may observe that in the graphic I put the grave because in Polish grob is grave, let's say. I believe it's not the best of my jokes ever, but I wanted the meme section to be about memes, so there you go, guys. So the grob opening starts with move g4. It is perhaps the worst move that you can play at the very beginning, at least that's what I've heard recently. However, actually, I played it even in the title Tuesday some few weeks ago, and I won the game because it allows you to be over aggressive, over tricky, and sometimes it might work. The overall idea, including tricks, would be to, after d5 just abandon the pawn on g4, play a move like this and like this. So we are entering some English opening territory with the idea that we sacrifice the pawn, but for that we developed opponent's bishop, and the bishop is no longer protecting the b7 pawn. So we have plenty of ideas of hitting those pawns like this, but like, if you really want to know the chess theory and you want to spend some time on it, why don't you learn like a normal opening, guys? So I know it's memes and so on, but do you really have to put a lot of work in order to play such opening? I'm not sure, but if that's your thing, whatever, let's do it. As I've said, I cannot be mad at you guys because I also played grob opening with some results actually. So due to that reason, I will say that the grob opening will go into the memes and tricks only section. And actually, there are more tricks than in the orangutan. I have not ever played Ponziani. Personally, I don't like Trompowski. Okay, guys, there you go. Those grob fans, this is the best I can do for you. That's that. Okay, last one. Van Git opening. I hope I pronounced it all right. Van Git is a move knight to c3. It's an option to transpose to many different setups. For example, the some weird London Jobava system. I forgot to include it. Oh guys, I forgot to include the Jobava London, but I will not recommend it. Let's just say that, agree on that, let's just abandon it. Obviously it's quite a decent option. So let's just say that if you are here until this point, you will get the extra tip, extra bonus stuff. London Jobava system belongs to the optional section. All right, there you go. Anyway, Van Git opening allows you to maybe even enter the closed Sicilian, maybe enter the Vienna game. So if you want to be very tricky, very unique, and actually you know some theory in other lines, you may start with knight c3, confusing the opponent and getting additional seconds on the clock. Fine. However, if you don't want to enter the Jobava London and you want to play in the true Van Git opening style, I would say that e3 would be the move, or also e4, but e4 I would not recommend due to the d4, and we already have some problems. So why do I even mention the Van Git opening? Because it is the opening that was shown to me by my student, who is actually very highly rated on chess.com. He has like 2100 elo on Rapid, and he was playing this opening as not the main opening, to be honest, but the best of the best tricks that he has up his sleeve. And the idea is that after e5, you have the queen h5 move. And really guys, if you are beginners and you want to learn proper openings, please turn off the video right now. If you are the degenerates anyway, you may continue watching. The idea is that with this move we are attacking not one pawn, but actually two pawns. And the problem is that f6 cannot be played due to the pin. Bishop d6 cannot be played because queen will no longer protect the pawn and we can take it. So like, how to protect this pawn? Okay, maybe knight c6. But then we have bishop b5. There is the pin, there is the pressure, those are the pressures. And actually, the only move that will allow opponent to hold all the pawns would be queen d6. But psychologically, it's not that easy. So if you got until this position against the opponent that is a beginner, as you, maybe you will be able to get the pawn. The problem is that even you will grab the pawn, you have no good chances of winning the game due to the fact that you've spent too much time on doing some stupid tricks, not playing chess but just trick opponent, and due to that fact you will lack the space, you will lack the activity perhaps. And even though I tricked the opponent that way, who is rated like over 2000 FIDE rating, I still lost the game even after being pawn up on move number 5 due to the fact that, okay, I grabbed the pawn, but so what? So because of the sentiment, because of the fact that this opening was shown to me by my student, I will have to put it no higher than the tricks only section. So maybe even the avoid, I cannot put all the fun stuff into memes, right? Okay, let's just agree that the Vanguard opening will be somewhere around here. I still like it more than Cola system, really. So guys, I believe this is it. I believe I've done some good work because many categories are filled with many options for both e4 and d4 players. You can tell me what do you think about this tier lists. And as I've said, if you want to create your tier lists based on my graphics, my names and so on, you can click the link into the description. As of now, it's all about the white's possibilities for beginners. Stay tuned for the next two tier lists videos, which will be two parts of openings for black from the advanced player perspective, and then we will go back to the white's choices for the advanced players. So if you are an advanced player and you got to this point, please leave a like, I really appreciate you being here, and subscribe, because in no time you will get the tier list for your level. So guys, thank you very much, and we'll see each other shortly in the next video. Bye bye.